quiet in here, isn't it?
It's very quiet.
Well, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, podcast is out now. Check it out. It's fun. It's ridiculous. If you like this and you don't want to look at us, you just want to listen to us for like 45 minutes, this might be your nirvana. And also, we're giving away that free Silver Sky. I think it's a lunar ice. It sparkles and dances.
I believe
with the
that it
light.
is.
All you gotta do is subscribe to the channel and answer some of those silly questions on the video talking about the lunar ice. Just check it out. Watch the video, subscribe, then you're entered. It's super fun. You're more entered if you're super cool and funny, though. More entered.
That's true.
Let's get to the topic at hand now.
Hold on, before we do that.
Oh yeah.
I got some new beard stuff.
God, we're selling all sorts of things today.
I'm not selling it. I'm not endorsed in any way. Oh. It's just really good. He sent it to me out of the kindness of his own heart because he enjoys our channel. Woolly Wizard Beard Company.
Maybe we'll put it looks better.
Nah.
Does it look better? I mean, it
smells nice though.
It does smell nice. I was scared to get too close. I don't know what's underneath that thing.
Like you've never sniffed my beard before.
Not that way.
Oh, God. No, check them out. They're Canadian. Woolly Wizard Beard Company. Thank you so much for the products. I am absolutely ordering more because they all smell amazing and they work really well.
What's the name of this book you were talking about?
The Birth of Loud.
Okay, so this book is sort of comping out Leo Fender, old Gibson, and Bigsby.
Paul Bigsby.
All at the same time. It sort of breaks deep down into these guys. But we're sort of analyzing the birth of these companies and like what their sort of project sort of mission statements would be.
Well, I just would say their philosophy going forward.
And how it started and how it has stayed the same, but also how it's changed quite a bit too.
Yeah, man.
It's so what did Gibson start off as? What was their electric guitar sort of model?
Well, what's funny is
the electric guitars
they wanted nothing to do with the whole solid body thing for a while. In fact, I believe in the book, mind you, disclaimer, we've not read this book. We've only
the cat's out of the bag.
Someone mentioned it, and I'm planning to read it. We'll see. There are no swords or wizards or strange like dystopian futures, so I don't know if I'll actually read it. But yeah, so basically Gibson, I think, kind of laughed Sir Les Paul out of the room when he was like, "Hey guys, let's build a solid body electric guitar."
Well, like they hated. I mean, the Telecaster and the Esquire type of idea, that was just a joke to them.
Yeah,
the Bodor.
Like it's ugly, it's dumb.
It sounds terrible.
Right. You know.
And what kind of music in the future would ever want to use that type of idea? So they were building guitars for the professional musician.
Right, and I think there was a little thought of, our guitars are the best. We want them in the hands of the best players. So, not necessarily an idea to make them attainable by like the common dude who's
the common man,
the blue collar folks.
And by man, I mean everyone, but just calling it the common man. It's just the
collective, yes.
The collective. That sounds more like the Borg. And then let's get to Bigsby for a minute. Bigsby's sort of similar, right?
I think he was sort of similar. In fact, I think from the synopsis I've heard, he kind of sided with Les Paul on that. He was a little more like, hey, we only want to make these things.
You mean with Gibson?
Well, Gibson, right. But I think Les Paul sort of was in the same, that's the direction he ended up going in. But yeah, with Gibson, he kind of thought, okay, make these things, they're the best people will have them, not necessarily. I mean, I think the thought was that it would sort of water it down if every Tom, Dick, and Harry, it's a good reference,
right,
could have your guitars.
And I understand that in some ways, sort of. But then comes along that little pesky Leo Fender, the disruptor.
Good old Leo, monster player. Just kidding, he didn't play guitar at all. Which I always think is...
I like to call him Clarence.
Clarence.
A lot of times. I love that name. It's just a name you don't hear anymore. And it's one of my favorite names of a boutique guitar. But anyway, he comes along and he is the disruptor of this sort of thing. He is not looking at the same business model.
Well, and Derek said this the other day that he was almost more like Henry Ford-esque, which is kind of cool. Wanted to do it sort of on an assembly line, mass-produced, easily interchangeable parts, so that if a player was somewhere, wherever in the country, and they're, you send them a new neck, they throw it on, 4 bolts, 4 screws, done.
In Weehawken. You could get your neck replaced. If you're in Weehawken and you're watching this channel, just say, hey, I'm in Weehawken. That'd make me happy.
There you go.
But no, it's like that is sort of what his mission was. He's not a player.
Nope.
He was looking at trying to mass produce a great electric guitar that could be somewhat more affordable, but they were not cheap back then. Like when these Fenders came out, they were still the equivalent of almost $2,000 today.
Yes.
For a Fender guitar, it wasn't like there was a Players series or a Squire version. It was like if you want a Fender, you're still spending some cash.
Heck yeah.
If you want a Gibson, you're spending more cash, cash plus. So it wasn't like these were just toys. For like
no,
there were those. There's a lot of those. They were called harmonies and things like that, and some of the sort of the Japanese offshoots that came later.
Right.
But in general, these were nice instruments that you'd buy.
It's sort of like pro level instruments, I guess you would say.
But yeah, Leo's design was to sort of create something that was, again, like you said, interchangeable, mass produced. The parts are there. We have these parts set. Like it's not all handwork craftsmanship. But then,
and it's maybe fair to say that the tone with the Fender stuff was almost a side effect, not necessarily the main focus, like the thing they were chasing.
And I would almost say that's for sure with some of the amps.
Absolutely.
I do not think Leo Fender intended for a dimed out bassman to become the sound that Marshall copies and the sound of like hard rock in the future. They also thought, Hawaiian music.
That's the thing.
Swing and country western and like that sort of style was the future, not this rock and roll fad that was popping up. That's just those kids are liking that. That was like the screamo of the 1950s.
Here we are.
Which unfortunately did kind of just disappear. And the screamo fans were like, no, it didn't. Like, yeah, it did. It tried to make a head pop out in mainstream, and then the rest of the world was like, nope.
Like, what is
that
this?
Can go back in this box. It's cute for this small little grouping over here, and they can stay there. And that's what happened. I remember like when all the guys were swinging the guitars on their necks too. It's so cute. All
you get to watch the like fail compilations.
Yeah, that was
the guitars go flying.
Smash, face smash.
Or smack the bass player in the face.
Bass players always
that would hurt
smack.
so bad.
It hurts so bad.
That would hurt so bad. It'd probably break your jaw. Like imagine if I had a guitar and just went bam, and then the headstock hits you. I mean, that would.
It could hurt you really bad.
Wreck you up.
That
would suck.
That hurts me just thinking about it.
But
then what's funny, I think, is let's fast forward to the year 2021.
God,
that's
future.
Or 2022. You might be watching this.
Yes.
We shot this in 2021.
Yes.
Which is today. So if the robot cat apocalypse happened in 2022 and where this is no longer, you're seeing this as a record of our past and our human existence.
Before the metaverse took over.
Yes. Anyway, so now Fender has changed entirely in some ways. It's still, not entirely, but it has that same core of like we want to make the guitar affordable for like as much as possible, and that's where like the Players and the Squires and everything have entered. But they also have the custom shop and their Pro series within their production line are outstanding pieces of tone shaping machines, great playing instruments, and beautiful pieces to look at.
Yeah, and great craftsmanship. But I would say with Fender, right, seems to me, might be crazy, Fender puts a lot more in and sort of takes maybe more pride in like a classic vibe or a Player series. Like you can tell they're proud of those guitars. Those guitars look great. At a glance, you're going to be hard pressed to tell, is this a custom shop? Is this a Player something, Player Pro? Is this a classic vibe Squire? Well,
that's something I do love about Fender, and I love it about what we do here. Is like we're not going to separate, our $700 piece from the custom shop piece. Like this is not on the same right next to each other, but it is literally in a different section right next to each other, marketed and sold the same exact way.
Someone actually pointed that out about our shop.
That was Dylan Talks Tone.
That was Dylan. Which I thought was very kind.
Yeah, we like Dylan. He's spectacular.
He knows a lot of things.
He makes a mean pickup too.
He does.
And he's just nice.
He is.
So if you haven't checked out Dylan Talks Tone, check it out. He's just a cool cat. He lives in a house that walks around on legs or something.
It's weird.
It's mobile.
Like the walkers in Star Wars.
That'd
be amazing. Yeah, those things.
I love those things. Completely. I read side note. I read
it was bound to happen.
I know. We've been so good and focused. We haven't had any distractions this whole thing.
Dang.
But I was reading this whole story on the AT-ATs in Star Wars about how the Empire even knew that they were not logical things, but because the whole idea of these giant legs is just not a logical build. It's prone to breaking and prone to being taken out, but the fear factor that induces.
It is. It would be terrifying.
And you even remember Rogue One at the end when they're when those things coming through the woods and you're like
oh my
we're
God.
Dead.
Right. Yeah.
You can't fight it. Like if something's a tank and low level, you might be able to figure out a way to kill the people inside of it. But that's just
horrifying. It's what's the episode of The Mandalorian where they are in that little village and they have to they're gonna step into those little ponds and they dig the. You know what I'm talking about?
I can't remember. I gotta watch that series again. I haven't watched it. I only watched it once.
Yeah. Whatever.
Don't spoil it for me.
Sorry.
But anyway, Jesus, what were we talking about? No, and I'd also say the QC on Fender has leaps and bounds bypass what Gibson was doing for decades.
Yes.
And Gibson's still sort of coming out of it, because I have a fresh Gibson in my living room right now. It's a little Les Paul Junior double cut, and I mean the nut's trash on it. It's like it doesn't stay in tune at all. You know, it's a shame. It's a good guitar. The neck is phenomenal. The body, some of the work on it's a little bit shoddy, but the nuts is just a real disappointment. Yeah. But you know that has happened. That happens across the board with every company that makes these amount of guitars. But then what does Bigsby become?
A footnote.
Ouch. Well, as far as guitars go, yes. I mean,
right.
It's like a collector will know what those are.
But his ideas and the things he was able to produce back then, right? I mean, like, really, really, really impacted probably both, but
he revolutionized
definitely
the guitar
Fender.
design game.
Yeah, man. I mean, we all think of him as just the little wiggly bar thing.
That's what I'm talking about. That's it.
But you know, I mean,
headstock, everything, but also just the design of the instrument too. He's integral to that. But that Bigsby alone is really cool. It's
I love Bigsby.
And Fender acquired it, so they own that now.
So there you go.
They own the Bigsby brand.
They do.
Which is strange.
It is strange.
It's strange that because Gretsch has this weird relationship with Fender too. It's sort of like, are they owned by Fender? Not really.
Not really. Distributed by.
It's a strange little metaverse of the Fender. But Gibson has entered it also. They've sort of left that line of just like we're just for the highbrow, and they have the whole universe of Epiphones.
Yeah.
And they have their lower price like Les Paul Studios and some of the other Les Pauls, like sort of even below studio line that have come out for years.
Well, I mean, like we were talking about this morning though.
Your beard is really shiny.
It is really shiny
good right here. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. But so Zach was changing the strings on an older Les Paul Studio.
Yes.
And it's the, you know, no like wood filler. It's that plain weird kind of like poop brown color.
Yeah, we just bought this guitar yesterday.
Yeah. No one's gonna glance at that and like you could glance at a classic vibe and say, oh, what cool Fender is that? No one's glancing at that guitar and mistaking it for even a Gibson USA or definitely not a Gibson custom shop.
But it is a Gibson USA.
Well, it is. It is. I'm just saying like a proper Les Paul standard.
I just want to argue with you, just like you. I want you to feel like you're at home.
It's just like being at home.
You know, I really don't think you should wear the hat today. No, it's no, I agree. Like it doesn't have a wow factor.
Right.
Like some of the Les Paul studios are just going, oh, okay.
I mean, not to call it not a real Gibson because it is a real Gibson.
That's right.
But you know what I mean. Like you guys, probably everyone.
I used to dog on the Les Paul studios like pretty hard, and then I played a few, and I've changed my tune a bit.
Some of them are really good, but I mean, you know, that's what you saw guys playing. Well, there was a point in my playing life where it seemed like everybody that wanted a Gibson had that because they couldn't afford a Les Paul Standard or Classic or whatever was out at the time.
And part of it, we've had this discussion too. I'm still on the fence. Like, would I go like a cooler Epiphone? Because I would still want the Jared James nickel Epiphone versus a Les Paul Studio, maybe.
That's about the only one I think I would want, though.
I just think it looks great. The fit and finish is amazing on it. If you haven't played one,
those are super cool.
And if you haven't been to the Gibson garage,
go do it.
And you're in that region, you're there for business. A friend I was talking to on the phone yesterday, he can't go. He's trying to go. He's like, I have meetings all day and I have to leave the next day, and like they close at 6. I'm like, if you call one of our friends there, they might actually meet you there later if you promise to buy something.
He's gonna miss the glory that is Mr. John Wolford.
And our other friend,
who's a fantastic man.
Dylan, right?
Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan.
Yes.
And Dylan knows, he's the only one that works at the Gibson garage that knows where the secret button is that lowers the special wall that opens you into the Gibson metaverse.
It's true.
It's special. That dude, hopefully he never leaves that place. He might be like a digital creation of like the perfect guitar shop guy too.
He could be.
It's kind of neat. He's like, guy, he's young, he's knowledgeable, he's cool looking. I want to be that guy when I was younger, but I'm old now, so it can't. So anyway, Gibson Garage, if you can check it out, ask for those two dudes. They're awesome.
How did we get here? I don't know.
Well, it started off with the AT-ATs for a minute too. I don't know. I'm like, we're talking about it. But no, it's sort of funny to see how like now they're such massive businesses.
Yes.
You know, like these are like huge businesses, so they're everywhere.
So do you think that those initial philosophies, and obviously Gibson is a much older company than Fender,
correct,
but those philosophies from that time period when they were both sort of in parallel developing their solid body guitars, have they carried over to today?
In some ways, I think Fender is changed in some ways, in good ways with the times too. They're very, they are a progressive company. They're trying to like capture the youth always aggressively, and I like that. It's like your first guitar is gonna be a Fender, your last guitar is gonna be a Fender. That's kind of like the motto I sort of feel like Fender has done really well. They don't say it that way because that sounds really like dictatorial. What word do I want to say? Sure. I was thinking oligarchies at first. I was like, eh. But then I think back to the philosophy of like Leo Fender too, and just him as a man. Like he was a man that would like leave work at a certain time every day, get a glass of warm milk, take a bath, spend time with his wife.
Sounds awesome.
Whereas like the CEOs of Gibson were more like the rock and rollers, dude. Let's go get some ladies. Like it was kind of a different vibe. Like even back in these like the 50s, like in the 60s, the Mad Men period, it was crazy. So it's that philosophy I think definitely like transcribed through Fender until he sold it though.
Right.
Leo sold it and CBS took over. And now that they've gotten it back, I think Andy and some of the team are trying to do as good a job as they can with like keeping Fender going in that momentum. Of course, they all make missteps along the way, but overall, I think Fender has had some pretty darn good leadership across the board.
I would agree with that.
And it's one of those companies like, I'll be on the phone. I talk to several of the master builders at the custom shop, several of the guys that work in the team, like pretty consistently. And
our friend Ed, who's our pal.
Yeah, Ed's our friend. I miss Kurt. Kurt.
I miss Kurt too.
Kurt got promoted or fired. Or I'm just kidding. Fired. He got promoted away from having to work with us over at the custom shop. And he's like,
thank God.
But because we are annoying. Like Ed's just getting used to us. I think right now.
We probably are annoying.
He's we annoy the hell out of him.
Ed, could you like do this thing where you made the bridge like this? Yeah, no.
Ed's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You guys are idiots. I'm like, yeah, we know. But we want to do this. But Ed's cool. I'm going to talk to him on the face-to-face on Friday. Can't wait to see his pretty face.
In the metaverse.
No, but it is neat. Like, I have relationships with a lot of people at Fender, even guys like in like customer like help and relations. Like, they're nice people.
They are nice people.
And they want to do right. And there's not that many of them, so it's not some megatropolis corporation. It's a few cats in Arizona and then California. But anyway, yeah. So I think a lot of those initial philosophies still do hold tight. And I hope they continue to. I hope Gibson recaptures theirs. I think we need to respect what Bigsby did.
Absolutely.
And where they live in the marketplace. And I hope people, they don't just think it was just the Bigsby tailpiece. Like, there's much more design to the whole world of electric guitars that we owe to him as well.
Agreed.
That's all I got, man.
Is that it? We done?
Yeah, I think so. Like, don't forget the beard oil. Don't forget the podcast. Don't forget the free guitar that we're giving away. And then don't forget the next American great guitar builder, or whatever we're calling it.
All the info on the website now. Check it out.
Taking submissions right now if you want to be that dude, but you might not be listening anymore. If you're not, you missed out.
Should have watched the whole video.
I'm gonna go call one of the great American guitar builders right now. Right. Yeah, call some guys up in Detroit.
There you go.
Gotta talk to him. He just called while we were talking.
Boom. Hit like and subscribe. Don't forget to click that bell. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out.
That's it.